Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Unscripted Dialogues. I'm your host Aditya Shajwani. Today as my guest I have Mr. Saurav Maheshkar. He is a software engineer who has worked in the computer industry for the past 2 years as a
machine learning engineer
in the company called Weights and Biases, which is one of the world's fastest growing unicorns. Saurav, it's a pleasure having you over here today for my second episode. I'm glad you could make it.
Yep, pleasure being here. First time on a friendly podcast. Let's see how it goes.
So I've been on technical podcast, I assume.
Yep.
How has the podcast experience been for you?
See, technical stuff is easy. That comes naturally. I don't have to do much thinking, right? It just I know stuff. I say it out loud. With friendly stuff, I have to think and say it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially if your friends, parents are watching the podcast.
Yes. Sadly. So yeah.
Sadly.
Sadly.
Alright. Let's start with your background. Before starting at the University of Manchester, where did you do your schooling from? What are extracurricular activities you were involved? As I can see from LinkedIn, you were in many
Quite
AI stuff, which is too complicated for me because as a person who's studying economics and politics, AI is like Hebrew for me. No offense.
Okay, let's see. So both my parents work as university professors, right? So we moved a lot. I think we changed cities every 3-4 years. So let's start like with the teenage years, right? 12,
Okay. Yeah.
13, around that. I changed school thrice.
Hmm.
I think from 4th grade till 9th grade, I was in Dhanbad, Jharkhand. Because my mom taught at then Indian School of Mines, now IIT Dhanbad. I went to ICSE school. Didn't do much extracurriculars back then. I was the nerd kid, short guy, bad hairstyle, all glasses, the typical stereotype. I was smart, decently smart, top 10 I'd say, top 10, top 5, never like the first was something. Didn't have much extracurriculars back then. Then from 10th grade till 12th grade, we decided to move to Delhi, to move closer to my dad, who at the time was teaching at a college in Delhi. After moving to Delhi, right, that's when I got like exposure. I think the first thing I did was, let's see, I went to a hackathon in the Indian Institute of Technology Delhi campus. Like that's when I started getting into extracurriculars in general. Not in AI at that time. The hackathon was mostly robotics based. So I got into a robotics hackathon there. The school saw like I was decently good, so they started sending me out to many competitions after that. Slowly grew my expertise. Back then I was mostly good in robotic stuff, not even like general programming. But after that hackathon, I started doing normal sort of coding stuff. I think I didn't get into AI until like COVID started.
Okay.
Yeah. So when COVID started, right, that's when I had a lot of free time. I was always good at like the studies in school. I never spent much effort there. It was all easy for me. So I spent most of my time. I didn't even attend online classes because let's be honest, those were very bad.
I agree.
It was humongous waste of time. So I spent like I think 12 to 14 hours a day during COVID just studying AI. I always wanted to get into AI since like as long as I can remember. I think I don't think I remember the first time. Or do I? Oh yes, it was when so there's this game called Go, right?
Okay.
So and there's this company which is now owned by Google called DeepMind. I think in 2017 or 2016 they made an AI system which beat like the best human player at Go. That's when everybody was like, okay, you know what? Maybe AI is good. Because if you look at the history of AI, I think there are only a few key moments before. Now obviously AI is a big field, but back then, like you can identify like 2 or 3 moments. You have the days of like Stockfish when AI defeated Gary Kasparov at chess or whatnot, and then the IBM Jeopardy AI is very famous. If it was mainly a conversational bot which beat the game Jeopardy, which is I think like a question answering guessing game. So I think that was 2007. I don't know when the AI revolution, the chess thing happened. So yeah, I think when like that moment happened, right, when AlphaGo defeated Lee Sedol in 2016, 2017, that's when I was like, okay, now AI is actually getting serious. Because obviously the thought of AI in general is like very romantic from a scientific point of view, right? It's about recreating intelligence, whatever that means. I was always interested in that, but like I could also sense that like it wasn't ready yet, right? It was mostly used inside games. It was not ready for like real case scenarios then. But when that moment happened, I was like, yeah, right now is the good time. Let's get into it. So I started learning whatever the normal AI stack was. Back then, the normal AI stack was Python. Still is. Now you have other languages as well, but still mostly Python. So started doing a lot of online courses in Python and deep learning and machine learning and all of those things in general. Really like worked hard for like 5-6 months or something. Really hard, because the courses which I was taking, right, the prerequisites, like it was assumed that you have a knowledge of either like a third year bachelor's or like you have done your bachelor's. So it was assumed that like you are 21, 22, having gone through the university experience. So first, while being in high school, I had to go to that standard and then study the courses which like which presumed that you know that much. So it was obviously a lot of hard work and upskilling to do, but I had a lot of free time. COVID sucked. I was inside the house throughout the day, so figured why not. Plus it was genuinely interesting
for you.
Yeah. And it was at like a very nice intersection of applied knowledge and theoretical knowledge, because I personally am a visual learner. Words don't help me a lot. I need to see things in action to like actually get what I'm working with. Most people in like the math and STEM field aren't that, right? They see equations on paper and they understand stuff. I need to see the graph corresponding to that equation to make sense of it. I don't have like an eidetic or a photographic memory, but just like visual clues help me a lot. So still like at that point AI was like a very nice intersection where it worked for me in like a perfect sweet spot, because I could see my results as well, but I could still like read the equations and understand the theoretical background which was needed. Did that for like 6-8 months. At this point I think I'm halfway through 12th grade. And then I've reached a point where courses don't help me, because I've done
all of them.
Lots of not all of them. I think I must have done like 50-55 courses over a term of 6-7 months. I think I still have all of them on Google Drive. It stopped mattering after 12 or 14. After that point, it was just like practice. Easy games. Just like start fighting certificates at that point. But yeah, I reached a point where like things didn't like courses weren't helping me. YouTube wasn't helping me. But I still didn't know enough to go off on my own way. Right? Now I've reached a point where I can explore what I want, because I'm comfortable enough to know how to explore. Because there is a way you do stuff in computer science. It's not that easy. You can't just pick up a book and then work. That's not how it works. So what I needed was the content matter to be hard enough for me to like work towards it, but not as autonomous as like you can do whatever you want. Right? So there's this thing called open source software, which is like famous companies put some of their software for free on the internet for other people to improve and work upon.
That's great.
That is like a wonderful thing. It ties in closely with the Freedom of Information Act, right? Because if you're using a piece of software, you technically should know what the software is from like a general humanity freedom way. Most companies don't subscribe to it, which also makes sense, right? Because they sell the software.
Why would they give it to you?
Yeah, why would they give it to you for free? But there are still like some ways where you can market free software. Some companies do it well, but like most companies, when they're starting off, they can't have an open source model because then they'll not make money.
True.
Right? So I started contributing to these open source software projects. you don't get any money from it. You do it out of your own goodwill. Yeah, so but anyways, I didn't need money at that point. I was living very comfortably with my parents with no intention of moving out or living on my own. Then but yeah, so I started contributing to open source software, specifically in the machine learning domain, and that's when I found the company which I worked for, Weights and Biases. Great company by the way. I think Forbes, or yeah, it was probably Forbes who released the list like top 500 startups to work for in the US, and like Weights and Biases came up 30th, which is like a pretty good bar. Yeah. Found them online and then really liked their product. So essentially, their product, so it's a machine learning operations platform, right? It helps companies who want to operationalize or deploy their machine learning systems to production. That's the term used. What they help you do is like monitor and debug your stuff, right? So for example, if you train an AI model, you usually get like a graph of your loss.
Okay.
Right? You train a model, the objective is to decrease the loss, obviously, because loss represents like disparity between the real truth and the predicted thing. So obviously you want your model to be as accurate as possible and your loss to be as low as possible. Right? So they have an amazing UI which helps you visualize loss curves, like absolutely beautiful colors, dark themes. And like as I said, I'm a visual person, right? So that helped me a lot. There were other softwares out there which did the same thing. Google has one called TensorBoard. Now I'm in a difficult place to say this because I'm also partly representative of Google and its software. I'm a Google developer expert in machine learning specifically. So I'm not sure how this goes on my image, but I'll still say this. I still believe Weights and Biases is superior than Google's TensorBoard. TensorBoard is great. It has its own perks and whatnot, but Weights and Biases is just like something on top of TensorBoard. It's just way more better. I hope Google people don't see this.
You see my podcast and hopefully sponsor it too.
Yeah, so
long way to go.
Yeah. I was using the Google tool I just told you about, but Weights and Biases was just way more better. And like they had a great outreach program as well. Like the company sets aside money from their own fund to provide free educational resources for other people to follow. Who does that? That's so rare. They had such a great community platform and whatnot. They actually cared about people who use the product. That's very rare. I mean, it's not rare now because a lot of people realize that like that's a very good strategy to work on top of. But like back then, I thought it was rare, so I became like, they have a Slack group for free. Back then they had a Slack group. Now it's a mix of Discord and private forums. Okay. But still, they had that, so I joined the Slack channel, and I just read everything that they put on their blog. Because like they used to hire people to write content, right? And that content was so good. It was, the thing is, right, in almost every role that I've had, it involves writing in some way, shape, form, or manner, right? And something which I personally aim for is to make my writing as jargon free as possible, to use as many fancy words as possible, right? So that like any person who understands like even like what math is can somehow maybe get like 10% or 15% of the thing. Because like if you can't explain it simply, you don't know it well enough. Like Feynman said that, and clearly he knew what he was doing. So like I try to follow like his the whole like jargon free writing style as possible. And like I saw like their articles were actually better than the papers which the articles was based upon.
Okay.
So whenever I wanted to like read an entire paper, I would first search if Weights and Biases had a blog post on that paper or not. If they had a blog post, I trusted their post more than the papers itself, because they were that high quality. Because most of the time they went beyond the paper itself.
Okay.
So every paper usually ends with open questions, right? The blog posts aimed to tackle those questions, and they did this for free. Those people who put out the papers are paid and incentivized to do that. These people were doing it for free on the goodwill of their own hearts to provide better educational content for the community as a whole. I kept following that. There's this one great human being who I still perceive as my mentor. I still want to be like him, Sayak Paul. If you're watching, huge shout out. I'll DM you about this, by the way. You should listen to this. Anyways, I followed his works a lot, and like by contributing to open source, I had finally like reached a point where I could be autonomous as well. Right? I had figured out what my interests were, and I started studying those particular concepts. Right? So there are various styles of learning in AI. There's supervised learning, unsupervised learning, self-supervised learning, whatever. Sayak Bhaiya's and mine, like research topics tend to align a lot. So right, there's this one blog post he wrote. It was on Sinclair. I don't remember the exact title, but I read that and I was so inspired by it. It was so good. It was written by full credits here, by the way, Sayak Paul and Ayush Thakur. I read that blog post. I liked it a lot. And while reading the blog post, I scrolled down to the extreme end, and I saw a post by even now she leads the growth team at Weights and Biases, Lavanya Shukla. I saw a post by her saying that they are hiring authors to write for the blog. I figured, why not? Let's just try, right?
Take the opportunity.
Yeah, I wrote to them. They reached out to me 2 months later that, hey, we're still hiring for authors. Are you interested? In those 2 months, I had obviously grown as well. So I said yes, obviously. I didn't write obviously. I tried to be all professional and stuff. And then
desperate.
I was so desperate, man. I was not desperate. I don't know. I mean, I had no hopes.
It's good to be desperate. There's no problem.
Maybe, but I had no hopes, right?
Yeah.
Why would a Silicon Valley startup, who I think at that time they had raised 100 million, right? They were hiring out of Stanford at that point. I mean, why would they hire
me,
someone who has not even graduated high school? But I figured, you know what? Hide that. Let's hide that. So I sent them my resume without an education section.
Okay.
I thought, you know what? I'm going to be ballsy. I'm not going to put education on my CV and just have like past projects, past experience, open source stuff. I'm just gonna send that and let's see if it happens. It did happen. Okay. They took my entire interview and I did well. I knew I did well based on the feedback that I had gotten. And the thing was, I loved their product so much that I was using it.
Okay.
Regardless of the fact whether they paid me to do it or not, regardless of the fact whether I work for them or not. I left the company around 1.5 years, 9 months ago, and I still use them. Personally, I feel they are one of the best experimentation tracking tools out there. I still use them. They don't pay me for it, but I just feel that it's a good software. So they had asked me to like send one of your best technical works and we'll judge you accordingly. It's a very common thing to do even right now. Most technical interviews don't have tests anymore because people can just cheat using AI, using Google, whatever. So they just ask you to send like what's the best piece of software according to you which you have worked on, and then they have one of their engineers test you on it. 2 people took my interview. One of them still works for Weights and Biases. One of them don't. I'm not sure if I can take their names or not, just out of privacy reasons. So yeah, both of them took my interview and they said, yeah, sounds good. Do you want to work? I said, hell yeah. But at that point, it's like, I probably should tell them about that I'm still not in uni, not graduated and stuff. But see, my key concern was I was not even 18 back then. Yeah, so my key concern was, will they hire someone who is below 18? Because I'm not sure how the legality works, right? So towards the end, I was like, hey guys, I didn't put this on my resume, but I'm still in high school. I'm not graduating and I'm not even 18. Are you sure you can hire me?
What was the reaction?
And they're like, yes we can. Because I don't know, I think they just knew. I'm not sure, but they said yes.
Yes.
I think Lavanya took like 10-15 seconds to respond or something, but she was like, yeah, we can still hire you. Perfect. That happened. Joined the company, and then Ayush Thakur, who was one of the co-authors, now was working for Bits and Bices, and he became my colleague.
Okay.
So the person who got me, one of the key people who got me into AI was now my colleague, right? And I met some great engineers there. Absolutely great people. They are some of them are still there. Some of them went to work for other great companies. I think most of them are still there. Yes, most of them are still there. And those who aren't are like working in close collaboration with them again. I worked with them for I think 6 months on a contractual, like a 0-hour contract. They paid me per blog post or something. It was decent money, like quite decent. Because I found out this much later. But like, if you are even like a content creator in the machine learning industry, right, you can gain pretty good money. You can't live on top of it, but like, I don't know. You can go out on fancy dates like once a month. It can pay for your car fuel, whatever. It's pretty good money. Yeah. Did that till,
especially as a student.
Especially as a student, it's so good. Okay, so you know how much the rent here is.
Definitely.
I can say like, if you do like 6 to 7 blog posts a month, you can pay the monthly fees easy peasy, easily. Yeah, and like it was not even compulsory for me to just work for them.
Yeah,
I could have worked for multiple people and gave more money, but like I didn't find that to be productive at all. It decreased my quality of work, which I didn't want to do at all. I know some people who do it. They manage to create like decent content, whatever.
Is it too late to change for me from politics to?
No, it's not. Trust me.
I'm doing politics.
I mean, if that's where your heart is, then sure. But like, that's one of the good things I like about AI. I was recently having this this conversation with someone else. But computer science is quite literally a skill, right? Because I picked it up during COVID. It took me 8 to 9 months. Right, and all I needed was like access to internet and like some food which my mother gave me. That's like quite it. You just need like internet. If you're gifted analytically, it surely helps. But if you're not, right, because I know some colleagues who don't find it intuitive. Right, I have reached that point where like some things just make intuitive sense to me. But like I know people for whom it doesn't make sense, and I can claim that they understand it better. Because like, I don't know how to explain it, right? I just have a feeling, yes, this makes sense. How? I know. But like, they can explain it to you, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's a skill which you acquire over time. It's you don't need like to have you don't necessarily need to have a background. I know people who, one of the people who worked at Weights and Bices, he was an English teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, and he used to, he was such a cool guy. I forgot his name. Oh shit. No, but like, he taught like English in American jails. Wow. And then he had this like huge crazy life, and then somehow he's like, nah man, I want to work for tech, so he now works in tech. Crazy human being. But yeah, you don't necessarily need to have a STEM background. I think one of the founding engineers was a linguistics undergrad. And like then she went on to computational linguistics, and then like she somehow found AI and whatever. Yeah. I lost track. Yes. Graduated high school, and at this point most people are supposed to go to uni after they graduate high school, right? COVID had just ended though, so prospects were good again. Okay. I had applied to, at that point, I believe, only the UK. I don't think I applied to any country in my first year. Okay. So I had gotten into University of Edinburgh. I was so happy. You don't know how happy I was, man. I was so happy. I'd gotten into there, but the results were delayed because of COVID, right? Oh. So I had no time to prepare for it. at all. And like I got my results in the first week of August.
Okay.
And I was supposed to fly out the first week of September. So I had 30 days to mentally prepare for the fact that I'm going to be leaving my family, moving to another time zone. I have to move all of my stuff. I need to get my finances in order. I need my visa. I need to pack, whatever. It was too stressful. I was under 18 at the time, which was still a huge deal because the COVID restrictions were still lifting up. So it was still dicey whether I could travel alone as someone who's under 18 or not, or do I need to fly in with my parents? For that, my parents would have also had to apply for a visa.
Vaccinated as well as there was
vaccinated as
well for 15 days.
Yes, it was so hard. So yeah, basically I didn't end up going. It was a bunch of various reasons.
Okay.
So I hadn't planned for a gap year, right? It just happened. I would have liked to go to uni. I would have loved to go to uni, I think, in my first year. Didn't happen. So at this point, I had to like make the best out of the 1 year I had. I knew I was going to apply again. I knew I wanted to go to university. But so I reached out to my manager, Justin Tenuto, huge shout out. He's such a great human being. Most loveliest manager I've ever had. I mean, I've only had one, but yeah, I can't imagine it gets better than that. I talked to him, I wrote to him, I'm like, hey man, so I had told him that I'll be moving to uni, so I won't give you much content for 2 months. And like, I think I was a pretty good writer because I reached a point where like their SEO growth rates were, I don't know if it's too cocky to say this or not, but like directly proportional to how much I wrote to them or not. So I had let them know, hey man, like won't be writing for 2 months, and he sent all like crying inside emojis and whatnot. Like yeah, and I'm just moving to uni. I'll need time to get back and whatnot. I emailed him, hey, the uni thing didn't happen. I was wondering if you have any full-time positions for me. And he came back to me after I think 1 or 2 weeks and like, yeah man, we do. I'm like, okay, when's the interview? He's like, hey man, what do you mean? No interview, you're in, of course, I want this. I'm like, oh shit, I guess I'm working for a Silicon Valley startup full time now. That happened. I think I was like part time for a month and then they officially moved me to full time because some financial technical reasons. Moved full time, worked with them for a whole year. One of the best times I've ever had. I won't compare it to uni life just yet. I want to give both of them equal amounts of time to compare. Like, did I like working in industry for a year versus university for a year or not? But the 1 year I had was absolutely splendid. The money bit helped, of course. Definitely helped. Not sure how much I can say, but like based in terms of Indian currency, I was earning low 6 figures a month, which is quite decent. It is as decent as it gets for a entry level role in machine learning.
6 figures, like top 10% in India? Could it be?
Top 10%? Nah man, definitely more I'd say, but it was good. It was definitely good money. It was 6 figures more than any of my friends were.
So basically your friends were just studying for the CBSE exams.
Yes, and here I was earning quite a decent sum of money. Did that for a year, learned a lot. Because, okay, you would think that having somehow worked so hard that I could take college level courses online would be enough. Working for top companies for free in open source would be enough. Knowing enough to write in layman's terms would be enough. But no, I had so much more to learn. The 1 year I had spent, I learned so much in terms of coding, in terms of work ethic, in terms of like how much a person can push himself while still being healthy. I thought I knew great people. They were nowhere as close to the people I met. Like absolutely amazing human being doing wonderful things in life. And like I just happened to meet so many people who I adored from a professional point of view, who I adored so much. And like I worked closely with them to call them friends, right? That's a different level of closeness. Like I got close to them from like a friend perspective as well as a colleague perspective. Did that for a year, and then I had to apply again. This time I applied to multiple countries, but like UK was the best one. Manchester was like one of the unis which I got into. I like did the pros and cons, figured out which one was best, financially, academically, how close it was to the city. Exciting thing though, I was actually considering not coming to uni at all, because I thought I would do like I was doing pretty decent when it came from like money perspective. So I was like, I'm doing pretty good in life. I can just like be a high school pass out and live life quite well. Because like there's also the it sounds romantic, right? When like college dropouts make it big, or when like high school seniors make it big, there's like some sort of appeal to it. But I was like, is this secure? Right? I think having a backup would be nice. Plus, like, okay, here's the thing. I was mostly working with 30-year-olds, man.
Okay.
Like, I was spending most of my time talking to people who had kids.
Yeah, that would be.
A kid was working with people who had kids, right? So my mentality changed a lot, and it still hasn't gone back. I still identify as like a Gen Y person compared to a Gen Z person. I remember I was in a party once, right? And I went with friends. And like the highlight from that party was that I was talking to one of my friends is that, and we ended up talking about real estate in Delhi. And all my friends have like crazy memories, like drinking and partying. And I remember I had a really deep conversation with that man about where he should settle in Delhi, which is a good school district and whatnot for his kids. Like, oh man, no, you need to like calm down and live like a normal 18, 19-year-old life. So I left the job, moved here. Obviously, I'm so bored here, I'm not gonna lie. It has nothing to do with like the uni course and whatever, but like I think I've reached a point academically and intellectually where like first year courses won't seem challenging to me. It's still content that I don't know. I obviously don't know everything in computer science, but I don't find it challenging enough. I know I can do it, right? So it's not intellectually stimulating anymore. So I've gone back to doing open source work and working for these companies again in reduced basis, of course. But yeah, that has been like a very long description of my background. I'm so sorry that took a bit of time.
I mean, it was quite a accurate one, I'd say.
Yeah. White Hat Junior.
You know the company White Hat Junior? So I like applied for it. They like once you register your interest and they get your number and then they keep on calling you.
Of course.
Somehow they convinced me and my mom. It was like 70,000 rupees.
Damn.
And I'll tell you, they convinced me for everything, the program and course and everything. I didn't even know what the fuck AI was.
Good marketing, I guess. Yeah.
I didn't know what was AI. I was like, huh? And then one of the sessions that happened, like 3 or 4 sessions, I was like, I did not understand this part. I asked the tutor, can we do it again? So for that, I had to contact some of their finance team or something like that, and they're like, we would have to charge you money for extra session. I was like, okay, I'm not continuing, give me my refund. And that's how I kind of stopped liking the tech world. When I call myself technologically illiterate, I am actually technologically illiterate.
It makes sense, man. I mean, if I was in your position, I would have probably not liked it. I mean, that was the whole deal with like even Byju's, right? Yeah. Byju's, White Hat Junior, all of these were running like just huge marketing campaigns, getting everyone to flood in their money into edtech, which is I think probably one of the reasons why people like laugh at edtech right now, especially in India. I'd say not in the US, obviously. Like Coursera, deep learning, Udacity, edX, right? All of these companies are doing great. But in India, they did like such a good job at marketing.
True.
And such a ridiculously dumb job at providing the content that people just don't find value in edtech anymore. I think that's why like Byju's just moved their headquarters.
Okay.
Fun fact: the company, the VCs who fund Weights and Biases also fund Byju's. Yeah.
Big game going on.
Big game going on.
Industry.
Yeah.
Because I know people are like, you should learn coding. It is important in everything. Which I agree. Like there is this language called R for statistics.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I downloaded the R programming and everything.
Yep.
I opened YouTube, watched the video for 1 hour, and I was like, 12th standard started, done, finished. And the thing is, like over here, like doing BA Econ, I still, because you also have data analytics as a part of social sciences, which I find to be
Makes
very
sense.
great.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I was like, maybe if not this time, but maybe next year, I would definitely need to take a module on that because it should be interesting. It's like a completely different field.
It is. I mean, I have my own views on R, but like in general, I would not say programming is important. It's just like another form of expression. That's how I see it, right? Because see, if you know something, that's great. If you can explain it to another human being, that's also great. But see, it's not a human world anymore, right? It's a human plus tech world. We interact with tech like every waking moment. So I think it's also important if you can explain your thoughts to the computer. How do you do that? Through coding, right? It's not needed for your profession. I don't think like every human being in the world should know it. Like it's a useful skill to have, right? Because like you will interact with tech in some way, shape, form, or manner. Exactly. Might as well see how it understands and thinks. Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's just another form of expression. At least that's how I see it. Some people think no, it's not a form of expression. You are romanticizing it a bit too much. But like usually those people don't do stuff which deserves to be romanticized. So yeah.
It's going to be more accurate about it. So, where do you see the future of AI in the next 5 years? Because if you see, like I started reading this article about GPTs.
Yeah.
OpenAI, ChatGPT and everything, how it's going to affect the labor market and what are its useful implications. What are your thoughts and opinions on it?
Okay. So, the field of AI in general, right, has this thing called AI winters. The longest AI winters is essentially when nothing happens. That's usually when like AI as a field has progressed so much, it needs other fields to catch up in order to progress. The longest AI winter I think lasted 20-30 years. I think we started in 1956 with the first AI model, Perceptron. It was very loosely based on our understanding of the human brain at that point. And then some work was done until 1970s, 80s by McCulloch Pitts and other famous people. Then it stopped for 20-30 years. Not because the field couldn't go on. The field could go on. But like computing as a whole hadn't caught up. You needed better computing systems, right? You need things like GPUs, which people like use them for gaming mostly these days, which is good. We need the gaming industry in order to find the AI word. That's lovely. But still, then in 2013, people call it the ImageNet movement or the AlexNet movement. That's when an algorithm defeated humans at image classification. So image classification is a humongously simple task. Is this image of a cat or a dog or a horse or a table or a chair, whatever, right? There's this famous data set called ImageNet, and the accuracy of the algorithm superseded that of the human being. It happened because like at some point you start considering like a lot of objects. So dog, then which kind of dog? Right? Because like it's simple enough, even a 3-year-old, not 3-year-old, but like a 5-year-old can tell the difference between a dog and a cat. It's not that difficult. But like a 5-year-old can't tell the difference between kinds of dogs. It can tell you the difference between blonde dogs and blonde dogs, but like what's the name of the dog? Right? At some point, even you have to up your standards, right? Because you can't keep comparing AI to a 5-year-old. At some point, you have to go to a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever. So when the ImageNet moment happened, people were like, oh shit, something's happening. Let's get into it again. So in 2013, the AI world like boomed up again.
Okay.
Huge advancements. 2013 till 2017, it's not a lot of time, right? But like that's when most of the AI which people interact with right now, in that short amount of time, that's when most of it was made.
Okay.
In that short amount of time, people went from studying about it in universities to it going to industries to be developed by computer. So it went from theoretical computer scientists to computer engineers, where it went from computer engineers to just normal software engineers, and then to the hands of the people. It just took like 4 or 5 years for it to go from the blackboard to people's hands, which is ridiculously fast if you ask me. Like, I think the whole Google Photos thing, right, where you can click a photo of a flower and it tells you what it is.
Which kind of flower it
is. That foundation was that's still like work from 2016. Sure, the ways of identifying it and the model which is used, that has updated, but the core tech, that's still from 2016.
Okay.
That's when the first boom happened, right? Then in 2017, this paper came out called "Attention is All You Need." A beautiful title. Attention is all you need. I don't remember who the first author was. I remember one of the authors, because that's how it's usually cited in paper. Vaswani. I don't even remember the first name. Okay. Sorry. But yeah,
they watch this podcast.
Man, I hope you do not, because he's a close friend of Saib Bhaiya's. Okay. So he might just send it. Anyways, sorry, I don't. Ashish, yes, Ashish Vaswani. Anyways, he released this paper, right? This paper enabled AI to be used in like the then state of the art tech, right? Because we had just gone to the point where we could use GPUs. Not good at it.
Okay.
In 2013, we had just gotten to the point where you could use it, right? And then people started working with images. Video wasn't big back then, but like people had just started getting into language again, like text, what's usually called as NLP, natural language processing. We had just started doing that, and text as a whole is considered. No, I will not make comments on like what's tougher between image and text. Like that's a very heated debate right now. But still, like in the 2017 paper, right? The transformer paper provided like a very general algorithm to process sequences of information. It was a sequence modeling paper. It used GPUs very well. Okay. It used all the recent tricks we knew about learning, right? And it was a very stable model. Stability was a very like a dicey thing back then, because you could make great models, right, which could in theory learn so well, but we couldn't get them trained stably, right? Their loss curves would just shoot up somehow, because mathematically speaking they were very unstable, right? The function oscillated a lot, so it couldn't converge and whatever, but like they found an algorithm with certain set of values and certain algorithms which would converge really well. That happened. Ever since 2017, that's when the GPT papers came out, right? Okay. That paper introduced the concept of a transformer. A GPT stands for a general pre-trained transformer. GPT-4 is just the fourth iteration of the first GPT paper which came out. Everything follows that 2017 paper. Everything. Okay. And like you can find like really good videos on YouTube which explain transformer in a pretty layman way. I can't do it that well. Yeah. It requires a lot of like visual imagery and whatnot, but simple in enough that anyone who understands like what vectors and matrices are should be able to understand that. Okay. That's when like the transformer boom happened. That changed everything. I mean, in a year, so Google had not changed its search algorithm ever since the late 90s. Okay. AI came along. There were better algorithms, but Google didn't trust. They were very set on their, I think it's called the PageRank algorithm. They trusted that algorithm really well. Give transformers a year, right? A new model came out called BERT. I think now Google's entire search backend runs on BERT. Like it has BERT in some way, shape, form, or manner. Right? And even right now, transformers are like the thing which people work on the most. Some engineering tricks, right? Make transformer works for images, make transformer work for videos, certain types of videos. There are various things you can do in image, right? You can train for image classification, you can train a model for background removal, you can train a model for colorization. So given a black and white image, can you turn it into a very good colored image? That is a very hard problem to solve, right? Because how would an AI know that a human has brown skin and black hair? It could just give us green skin and purple hair, right? So anyways, there are various tasks you could do, and like people have been working on transformers for the longest amount of time. Until 2017, people thought like artificial general intelligence, which is when most people think of AI, they think of artificial general intelligence, which is like a robot which has senses and like you can't differentiate it from a human being. It's very smart. It acts like a normal human being. What most people think of AI is actually AGI, artificial general intelligence. Before Transformer came along, people thought AGI won't exist for 100, 150 years. Then Transformers came along and you know what, 80 years maybe, 50 years, 70 years, you never know. Then like, it's what, 2023 right now, right? And people chat with ChatGPT and GPT-4 and you're like, I don't know at this point. Anyways, so you asked me like, what do I think is going to be the state of AI in the next 5 years? I have no clue.
You don't know.
I have absolutely, it has gotten to a point where I am, okay, if you had asked me two years ago, how long would AGI take? I would have said, man, it's never going to happen. 30, 40, 50, not in my lifetime for sure.
Okay.
And like, I indulge in other things, so my lifetime might be short. But anyways, like not in my lifetime for sure. But now I honestly don't know. Because I know it's not real intelligence. Because you can convince GPT-4 or ChatGPT that 2 plus 2 is 5. You can convince it to do that. People have done that. But still, it knows a lot of stuff. And it's just language. Right? So if you think about intelligence, right, that's one of the main concepts, right? When people ask me what is AI, I'm like, I don't know. That's the main question. How do you define intelligence? Because it's language, it's memory, it's inference, it's deduction, it's logic, it's reasoning, it's intuition. There are a lot of like psychological, cognitive, biological computation. There are a lot of aspects. But I think we have gotten like language pretty well with ChatGPT or OpenGPT or whatever. I think we've figured out language pretty well. There are some people who would like hugely contradict that, but I think like as far as a layman is concerned, they would say like language wise, I think we have done pretty good with AI. With vision systems, I don't think anyone would argue that like AI vision systems are better than humans. They're hands down better than humans. Self-driving technically should be more safer than humans are. It's not, because it's a engineering problem. It's not an AI problem anymore. It's just that you need to have more data. It's just an engineering problem at this point. It's solved. It's not solved. My God, Musk would hate me for it. Anyways, so yeah, I genuinely don't know how AI is going to change in the next 5 years, but it's gonna play a huge role. It's gonna play a very huge role. I was just reading this. So I think it's 9:30, right? 5 hours ago. 5 hours ago. 5 hours ago, no, 5 or 6 hours ago, GitHub released another version of their code writing AI called GitHub Copilot X. GitHub Copilot came out 2 years ago. Now, according to GitHub, in the last 2 years, 46% of all code has been written by AI. 46% of all the code which has been written in the past 2 years has been written using their AI. That's a huge number. That's 45% of the code which is used by us right now, which has been written by an AI. That is a lot of code. Now, most of that code is going to be stupid. It's going to be how the buttons are colored in websites. So it's not the logical bit, but still 45% is a big number. I'm still surprised by the number. I still think it's bogus and fake. But like, even if it's 20%, it's a huge number. Or even 10%. I'd say even 10% is a huge number. I don't know how AI is going to be in the next 5 years, but it's going to play a very huge role, and everybody should in general keep up with it. Not because it's going to hurt the labor market. I don't think that. I think it's going to be another revolution for sure. Right? Like the industrial revolution happened, people were against it. But I mean, it took away the mundane jobs, right? I think the same thing is going to happen with AI. It'll take away the mundane jobs.
If you're also in a way, if you're technologically obsolete, you have to keep up with.
You have to keep up with it.
Keep up with time.
I'm sorry, but like that's how the world changes. I would like the world to be more inclusive to even people who are not technologically aware, but the world is not in my control, and sadly it's run mostly by tech. So you have to keep up with it. I'm sorry, you don't have a choice anymore. It's like deciding not to learn English. Sure, you can exist without it, but it's going to be very hard.
Agreed.
That's just how the world works now. I'm sorry. I'm proud of my language as well, but that's just how the world works.
Definitely.
You just need to learn
it as a language.
Yeah.
With AI.
Yeah.
For example, if I were to write an Instagram post for my podcast episode releasing, okay, I might be creative. I might write something. Grammatically correct, incorrect, doesn't matter. I go to ChatGPT. I just I need to put in an Instagram post for my podcast, and I just give some details. Perfect.
It's all done. You can write it, yes, but it's way better if you let the other thing do it. It's just like delegating.
Also, I can get different perspectives and opinions from it. Why
do you think this is good?
Yes. Or if I write some crap and I know that's going to be bad.
But like I think it's also important, right? Because AI is becoming such a crucial part of our world. You have to make sure that the people interact with it in a civil way. Yeah. Like that's the thing. That's the conversation that's happening right now. What is safe AI?
Yes.
I don't think the way ChatGPT was trained, it was very woke.
Okay.
Right? Now, according to statistics, I'm very dicey about this. I don't trust when newspapers, for instance, when they used according to statistics or according to surveys, I don't trust that at all. People don't know how to take surveys. But anyways, according to surveys, most of the younger population is woke. That's not my opinion. That's just the statistics. And most young people like to talk a lot. That's just how we are. We talk a lot. And we mostly talk on social media platforms, so we generate a lot of noise. That's our generation's thing. We generate a lot of noise about issues. Sometimes it's used for good things, sometimes it's used for bad things. But we let our opinions out. We want the world to know this is how this one individual feels. As a result, we generate a lot of digital footprint. Right? Now, ChatGPT was trained on the internet. So naturally, most of the data that it was trained from came from young people.
Yes.
Who happen to be woke. So now obviously ChatGPT is woke. That is not Microsoft's fault. It's just we generate so much noise and most of it is woke, so naturally the AI is woke. It's not AI's fault. All that it's trying to do is mimic us. And if we are woke, then it's going to be a woke entity. Now some people have a problem with it, which I think it's right. Right? Because being woke is not the only option out there.
True.
Right? You can be liberal, you can be, a fascist if you want to be, you can be Marxist if you want to be. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
You should know that there are other options out there.
True.
Right? And if you are interacting with AI and the AI only knows to be woke, if the only thing AI knows is to be woke, then I can see that being a bad thing. But it's not the AI's fault, man. Come on. I mean, you can technically say that Microsoft could have done a better job at curating the data, right? They should have ensured that there is equal numbers of woke representation and classical representation and fascist representation. But fascist people don't talk a lot. So I'm sorry. Yeah. If you want representation, then you also need to make noise. But no, please don't.
No.
Okay.
Well, so what happened last time they made noise?
I mean, technically you could say that that's Microsoft's fault, but okay, AI is hungry for data, right? So I think it's completely fine from Microsoft's perspective because they are out there to make money. I'm sorry, not everyone cares about one individual's feeling, right? Some companies just want to make money, which is extremely fine because they give back to the country in the form of taxes. It's okay, guys, calm down. Anyways, so Anyways, you can stop one small company, right? You won't stop the giants in any way, shape, form, or manner, right? If they want to make money, they will make money. They will use all the data that they can get, and I'm sorry, then the AI is going to be woke. Now, some people are dealing with it. I mean, UK is going to create like a UK GPT. I saw that in the news. I'm not sure if that's true. Don't quote me on it. In fact, don't trust the internet in general. That's not a thing. I think it's stupid when our generation says it's on the internet.
Yeah.
I can put anything on the internet which I want. That doesn't make it true. That's the whole point of the internet, right? It's there for open communication. If it's out there, that doesn't mean it's true. Anyway. Right, so like, I know some... Okay, this is definitely a thing. The CEO of some company is trying to create a Christian GPT.
I was just going to say something about that, you know? I was thinking in my mind that, like even today morning, so there is this thing called Gita GPT. It's like Bhagavad Gita, and there's got different AI bots. One is Krishna, Lord Krishna, and
interesting.
Yeah, all those. And if I put in a problem, for example, I am wasting a lot of time. What should I do? So that thing has analyzed Bhagavad Gita from its perspective, data and everything. That's how you said it, and then it gives an answer. Now, for example, if it's compulsory for you to read your scriptures like every week or something like that, what's the main thing? Heightened perspective. That's the thing. One of the main reasons you read your scriptures for. Now I can just go and get it solved. The thing which took me 1 hour will take me like 5 minutes.
Great. I see that like as accessibility.
Definitely.
It's like a better way of accessing information. I don't see anything bad with it. The thing is like, the problem was for like, I think a month, all that people had was ChatGPT, and they're like, this is AI. No, that's Microsoft's language model. That is one company's singular model which you have gotten the chance to interact with. There are lots of other companies in the world. Like that's why Google had to catch up and release Bard. Right? That everyone in the tech industry is panicking so much right now because even they want a language model of their own.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll just take up the market share.
Yes, it's not. I also see. Okay, it's very important that you have other ideas and cultures and values which even the AI has. Even the AI, like it's a separate entity. It's not an entity. The AI overlords, if you're seeing this, I'm so sorry. Anyways, it does not have an entity, okay? You don't have to see ChatGPT as the sole AI in the world. There are a lot of other chatbots out there. Calm down, it is not AI, it's just a chatbot. Jeez, relax. It's just a intelligent chatbot. Anyways, I think it's extremely important that other companies release their AI. Sure, the market share is important. I even want them to make money because I work for you and you pay me. Anyways, I want the sole thing that I want is like every perspective should be represented in AI. It'd be very nice if like all the governments and the companies figure out like one singular platform in which you just ask a question and then according to your philosophical and religious and economic point of view, you get like the AI which matches you the most. That's one way where we can make AI very inclusive and respective and whatever.
And not only for books.
And not only for books. Until that happens, I'm sorry, we'll have to deal with this. Let's just not panic.
Yeah.
I know ChatGPT is very woke. I've talked with it, right? The most famous example I think which is going on right now is you ask ChatGPT who is Trump, and like Trump was this and he wanted to build a wall. That's the first thing which ChatGPT tells you. You ask who Biden was, and like Biden is the current and he did whatever, pass this one act, release this much money, and like that's clear woke culture, right? What ideally the AI should do is Donald Trump did these good things and these bad things, but it only highlights the bad things. Whereas for Biden, it's only the good things. That's like one clear example. But sadly, that's how that one particular AI thinks. It's not AI, it's chatbot. See, even I'm saying
it's the Microsoft's language model.
Exactly. It's not like the whole. It's not the only AI out there. Yeah, that's what I think about the next 5 years in general, which is I don't know anything. I'm sorry.
So much for knowing nothing. Okay, my final question. So, after you complete university, what are your plans? In the start, you said do you plan on staying in this country, somewhere else in California?
I don't know yet. I'm sorry, I don't know. I should know.
Do you plan on working in a job or starting your own?
No clue, man. No clue. Honestly, no clue. Okay. Here's what I know. I want to work in AI. Obviously.
That's why we are having this conversation.
Yeah, I want to do research.
Hmm.
Whether that is in a university on a blackboard inside university campuses while attending classes, or in some company's office sitting on a beanbag with headphones on. I don't know. But I want to work in AI.
That's for sure.
I have a very specific field which I'm interested in, right? It's called geometric deep learning. It's the study of how symmetry emerges in nature in general. Sadly, there are only two hotspots where that is happening. It's either New York or it's Oxford and Cambridge.
Okay.
So there's very high chances that I continue to stay in the UK, preferably in Oxford or Cambridge. I don't want to name the profs because again, I don't know if that's right or not. But I think it's most likely that I either pursue a PhD or maybe a master's in either Oxford or Cambridge, provided I get in, hopefully. Pray for me. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to continue working. I do want to start my own, have a venture of my own though. I think the only way to have control over your own finances in today's day and world is if you own all of your content. True. The only way to do that is to be a content creator, which is one of the reasons why I want to start my own podcast, have my own YouTube channel, have courses and whatnot. So I do want to start my own company. I have a past of, I did some work, I own small little things here and there. I am working on another thing as of right now with some friends who, guess what, happen to work at, some of them happen to work at some of the companies which I just mentioned. That venture hopefully goes well. But yeah, I do have plans. Hopefully it's going to be in AI. I don't know, I might not stay in AI anymore. That's what my mother thinks. Because my mother is obviously way older than I am and has seen life more than I have. And she has also observed me as a human being. And I totally get that because from her perspective, I have gone from robotics to software to AI in the last 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is only 6 years, right? I've shifted a lot. So she thinks, you know what, maybe I might shift again.
Maybe for something better?
I don't see anything better than AI, man. What can be better than recreating intelligence? I'm sorry, I don't care about what anything does. I don't think there's anything more romantic than the idea of creating intelligence itself. I don't see myself getting involved in anything else, but if my mom thinks it probably could be true. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably gonna be an AI.
Yeah. It was nice to have a good conversation with you. Is there anything you want to talk about?
This is just black currant juice. I believe coffee is supreme than tea. Anybody who thinks otherwise is just wrong. What else?
And this is just lemonade, mom?
Just lemonade. I agree.
Definitely.
That's it. Coffee over tea, that's the most important. If you take anything away from this, coffee is better than tea. That's
if you understand anything from the conversation, coffee is better than tea. That's going to be in my description. Makes sense. It's go on theme, Saurav Maheshkar, AI, deep learning, future, coffee and tea.
Yep.
That's going to be the thumbnail.
Seems like a good mix.
Yeah. Think we are done with it?
Yep.